Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's bi-weekly update here at Gentian Financial. We want to welcome you. Thank you for taking some time out of your morning this morning. Maybe you're sipping on a cup of coffee. The question really becomes, who turned on their furnace this morning? I don't know. It's a little chilly this morning. Some people like to hold out for as long as possible. Some people like to turn it on and get cozy in the morning. Sometimes in my family, I tell my kids to put some extra layers of sweatshirts on. So that's how we do. But anyways, it's always the question at this time of year, when do we turn the furnace on? When do we kick it on? But it looked like next week it's actually supposed to be up in the 60s and 70s again. So maybe we can hold off for a little longer. So hope all is well with you listeners out there. We want to thank you again for joining us today for our bi-weekly webinar. So it's had some great topics. I'm sure we're going to hear about the Fed a little bit today. We'll talk about interest rates. We'll talk about the markets, some great planning ideas as well. Also probably tell a few dad jokes here and there. So of course, as you guys know, we like to go big here at Gentian. Beginning gratitude changes our focus onto things that are important in life. It kind of takes us off the negativity. I've had the experience to watch people watch the news pretty much all day long, and it's not a good thing. It's sometimes it's good to keep up on things, that's for sure. Keep up on current events, that's always an important thing. But hour after hour, maybe not so good. So this is why we're going to begin in gratitude. And so mine, I'll kick it off here. Mine is my kids, my two daughters, my oldest and my third child are back into the pool swimming competitively. And I'm grateful for all the new families that I got to meet because of that. It's always fun to meet some new people along the way. And I also learned I'm grateful for that they actually made fun of me because I showed up to the pool with a sweatshirt and pants on. And you don't do that when you go to a pool for a swim meet. You actually wear a t-shirt and shorts because it gets a little warm in there. So I learned the hard way, but that's okay. Watched my daughter swim on the team, and the team as an overall did a great job. So I'd like to hear about what your kids, grandkids are up to. We always like to hear your stories as well. So I'm going to kick it back over to see Ashley. She's on a call with us today. Ashley, what are you grateful for?
Thank you, Ken. I am grateful for all things fall. My family has participated in a few fall traditions already, and we have gone apple picking, we've done the picking out of the pumpkins, and just all the fall decorating. So I just love the new season that is upon us. Back to you,
Ah,
Ken.
yeah, very good, Ashley. Yes, it's the time of year. It's a little warm. I hope those pumpkins hold up after we carve them, right? So I saw a really cool one. Like this person painted their pumpkin white and it just put Titleist on it as a golf ball. I thought that was pretty cool. So, anyways, awesome, Ashley. Thank you for sharing. Zach, how about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Along with Ashley, super grateful for the fall season. It's my favorite season. A lot of things to be grateful for in general. I had the opportunity to study with Strategic Coach yesterday. It's an entrepreneur coaching program that our team's been a part of for over 20 years. And I had the opportunity to be in it over 7 years ago, and I was the youngest by about 15 years in a group of 20 people. And now I'm not the youngest anymore. There's 4 people in it that are younger than me. So it's fun to see the growth and the progress of that and just continuing with the fall. Super grateful for October birthdays. So I have about 5 or 6 people that I'm extremely close to that have birthdays in October. So it's just amazing to get together and to celebrate with them.
Yeah, very good, Zach. We appreciate that. Yeah, the birthdays. I saw this joke the other day. It said age is not a number. It's clearly a word. So there you go on the dad joke. Hey, Angie, I saw you grimace on that one. That means it was somewhat decent, maybe not so good, but okay. Angie, how about yourself? What are you grateful for?
It was good, Ken. It was good. Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on just what people are saying. These are my next 3 favorite months of the year, October, November, and December. And on my drive in this morning, for all of you people who are local here to Mequon, just on the corner of Wasaki and Mequon Road, there's a line of trees and they go east and west. And yesterday they were green. This morning they were just full of color. And it's actually just a spectacular scene. I got to sit at the stoplight and just look at it. I tried to snap a picture, but I couldn't do it without a bunch of trucks in the way. So I'm just grateful for this time of year and just the beautiful colors, and it makes my drive in just so pretty and you forget kind of, all about the time that it takes you to get somewhere when you're just in awe of everything around you.
Yeah, very good, Angie. Those all moments. Beautiful time of year. Lots of reflection, lots of color changes, lots of trips, like road trips right now to go see the colors, if you will. I heard someone was going to go up to Rhinelander like maybe last week and look at the colors up there. So people are taking little road trips to see what's going on around the state of Wisconsin, which is a beautiful state, by the way. So who else do we have here? Michael, how about yourself?
Thanks, Ken. I'm grateful for the changing of seasons. If you haven't stepped outside the last couple of days, you definitely feel that. But also grateful to be here in Wisconsin with some of the storms and hurricanes on the East Coast. So heart goes out to them, praying for them. Hopefully everything's okay. And to round things out on a more positive note, in the famous words of Angie, I'll always be grateful for a Packer win.
Very good. Yeah, Michael, that's good that you bring up the hurricanes and people in need right now and people that have lost their lives because of it. And our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to those that you were affected or people that have been affected. We've heard from most of our clients that are in the area. We've either heard from you or we try to reach out. If we haven't heard from you, we'd love to hear from you to say, hey, how are things going? Are you okay? Do you need anything? We certainly here stand ready to help you on the financials, of course, but basically anything in life as well if you need help with as well. So let's see here. Mike Mann, what are you grateful for?
Thanks, Ken. So I will not follow suit with everybody else who seems to love the last 3 months of the year here. But which I am grateful for. Fall's great. But anyways, so this morning I was taking my dog for a walk and I had noticed early on in the walk that I had not reloaded the poop bags. And so lo and behold, what happened shortly after that? Well, Akira does her business and I'm like, no, I got to run back to the apartment, get a poop bag, pick it up, all that good stuff. Be a good neighbor, keep that neighborhood watch away from you, that whole thing. I'm walking up the street and fortunately a woman who is walking her own dog came around the corner and at 6 a.m, she was willing to stop and say hello to me. And I was fortunate to be able to ask her for a poop bag. She supplied, I was able to pick it up, made my morning a little bit easier, a little bit better. So I'm incredibly grateful for that woman, whoever she is. She's wonderful. And her dog's adorable too. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Ken.
All right, Mike. Well, we appreciate that. And yeah, you never cease to amaze us here with what you're grateful for, which I appreciate a lot. So that's
it's the little things.
It is the little things that make it all go around. That is for sure, for sure. So lots to cover today. Lots of interesting things happening with planning. There's a lot of things on 529 plans. There's taxes. There's sunsetting of rules that we've known for so long here happening in a couple of years from now that we need to be prepared for. And we've been talking to you about it, and we've been talking on the webinars with you as well about it as well. I'm sure someone will touch on that today as well. So when we look at this, yeah, a month ago, the Fed cut the rates. And so some of you may be asking, okay, what happened with like the mortgage rates? What happened with our cash reserve rates? What happened with our CD rates? What happened with our money market mutual funds? Some of you may be asking those questions. Has it really affected? Have we seen a lot of movement in interest rates that way because of the Fed cutting the rates? That's probably been the biggest topic in the last month or so. And of course, there's an election coming up that some of you know about, and it's always interesting to pay attention a little bit to it all, just to kind of see what's going on in the rhetoric. But again, we try to keep politics separate from financial planning. I think Warren Buffett said it the best: is we have to make sure that we draw a line somewhere between the political beliefs, and those are super important to believe and feel the way you feel. But please draw the line when it comes to financial planning. Those are two different topics. And the history and results have shown us the reason why we say that. It's not just us saying that, but when it comes to the facts that are out there, and it looks like what happens with the markets when this person's president or that person's president, it really doesn't go in lockstep with how you think it actually plays out. And that's why we say we like for you to draw that line when it comes to the election and things of that nature. So with that being said, I'd like to hear about what's going on in the markets with Zach's facts. So Zach, if you'd like to give us some facts about what's going on.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. We'll give an update as normal, just kind of where the different indices are, and then kind of have some really interesting facts regarding this current bull market as well. So start with the Dow Jones. I'll round to kind of the nearest 10th decimal point on these, so bear with me. But on the Dow Jones, about 13.5% positive on the year. The S&P 500 is actually 21.9% on the year. So kind of an unbelievable year and really a run these last 2 months as well. The NASDAQ, which is 50% weighted towards technology, is right around 22% positive on the year. The Russell 2000, which is kind of those smaller size companies, is 11%. International, 8.8, and emerging markets, 11.7. So kind of just a few highlights from there that we see that are really interesting is that those smaller sized companies can move very quick along with emerging markets. They haven't kept pace with, you know, the larger size companies, the Magnificent Seven and kind of the S&P 500, but up 3% just within the last few days in the last week. And then emerging markets has kind of been out of favor for almost 5 or 6 years now. Those countries, those developed countries really struggled out of COVID to kind of come back as far as those US companies, but almost 5 or 6% in just the last month. So just really interesting to observe and really just shows the benefits of having the different asset classes, rebalancing and not trying to time which asset class is going to outperform when. Kind of a really interesting fact that I found for you guys regarding the current bull market. So the current bull market that we're in has featured over 20 rallies and 20 declines, but the current bull market for the US stocks crossed a 700-day mark last September 19th when the S&P 500 closed at a new all-time high. In the previous 14 bull markets beginning at the end of World War II, the average length was over 1,600 days. So that's not to say that we know exactly what's going to happen moving forward, but perhaps if history rhymes, then potentially we're only really halfway through this bull market. So we'll certainly be interested. But kind of along those lines too, is we know that corrections will happen and corrections are completely normal and necessary for the long-term growth and the health of the market. 5% corrections are extremely common, can happen at any time. 10% corrections are fairly common as well. And especially now with the political nature that Ken mentioned, it might be kind of used as a political weapon here. We might hear about it more often if we see a normal 5 or 10% correction here in the next few months. And 20% corrections generally only happen once every 5 years over history, but we've had 3 20% corrections just since the end of 2018. So extremely interesting to watch. 20% corrections might be more of the normal, but our actions and what we do during those stay timeless, stay evergreen, if you will. So just to touch real quickly on fixed income, just kind of where the treasury rates are. As Ken mentioned, the 1 year is 4.18, the 5-year treasury is 3.86, and the 10-year is right around 4 as well. So if you've had money in money market, you might have seen those money markets drop by about 0.5% or so, or if you have CDs at the banks that have been coming due, we've kind of heard the higher end of CDs right now are 4.5%, which is kind of rare to see those. That might be through a credit union that you might find those, but otherwise we've been seeing around 4% for a 6 to 12 month CD. So just keeping that in mind with kind of those cash holdings as well. But with that, Ken, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. And I can see the list of who's on here and what clients have attended this morning. We appreciate your time. And a lot of you that I see the names on here, and a lot of you have been through the corrections we're talking about, and you've lived through them. You've been retired through them. They have not prevented you from, unretiring, if you will, that I've noticed. And so it's just one of those things where if you ever have a chance to pat someone on the back or put your hand around someone, when we go through a tough time, just put your hand around someone's shoulder and be like, it's going to be okay. Because you've been through this. It's not easy sometimes, especially for those of our newly retirees that have never been through a market correction when retired. It's one thing to go through a market correction when we're working still and accumulating money. But that happened 14 years ago, 15 years ago. That still sticks in people's back of their mind about, hey, do you remember that 2008, 2009 correction? Yeah, I lost about 40% of my money temporarily. And then the question becomes, have you gotten all that back and then some? And the answer is yes. But when you're in retirement and the paycheck goes away and your investments are part of your paycheck, that is a different mentality to have and a different fortitude to try to get through. So thank you for all your patience. For those who have been through the corrections with us, we appreciate you. They're not easy, they're not fun, but we do bring up a lot of planning, conversion planning, tax planning. A lot of that stuff happens during those time frames, and we're going to make some lemonade out of some of those lemons that are given to us temporarily. So that's a really key feature. So thank you, Zach, for bringing that up. We appreciate that. So I've had one recently on estate planning, and some of you have done your estate planning. Some of you are in the process of doing your estate planning, and some of you have heard of us talk about estate planning a few times, and maybe that's just a little bit of nudge to maybe do something. But it becomes very real because recently I had the husband and the wife, and then the son was in the meeting as well. And not that anything is needed to be done at this point in time, but they brought their durable power of attorney, and mom and dad brought their durable power of attorney in and said, how does this actually work? So we actually have these documents, which is wonderful. A lot of you have healthcare power of attorneys as well, maybe a will, maybe a trust. But actually, how does it work? Like when do we execute this? Do we have to sign papers? How does it work? And so, maybe Lisa actually came into the meeting and actually answered the questions because, Lisa, Julie, Angie, Lauren on our team really do a lot of that work and a lot of help out in that area with you and with your children if it comes to that. So there's a few steps in the process, but most importantly, having the document itself is the key to it all. The rest becomes a little bit of a few steps in paperwork, but then it becomes, how do you actually do that in real life? What do you take over? How do you take over? And these are all things that we can lend some advice and perspective for you if that time comes for you, and if you ever need that sort of guidance. So actually reminds me of a little bit of a joke here, and it says, where there's a will, there's a relative. I thought that was kind of funny. So that's my piece on estate planning, and thank you for all who have done estate planning. If you're thinking about it, please do some sort of it. Like, it doesn't have to be the full-blown trust planning all the time, but your attorney will help guide you on what the best pieces you need in place for your scenario, and that will help you and your family have protection, have privacy, have peace of mind. That all matters in all of this as well. So with that being said, I'd like to hear Mike Mann for Mike's Minutes. Mike, what do you have in store for us today?
Thanks, Ken. I got three things that I'm going to touch on real quick with the markets, but before I get there, I do just want to kind of echo one of the things that you said and what's truly most important about someone's financial plan and what we really do at the end of the day, and that's risk mitigation. And that doesn't necessarily mean your investments. It's talking about the estate planning, because the risk of something that happens and something doesn't pass the way that you would want it to, if life were to end abruptly, is huge. That could be catastrophic. Same with talking about insurance risk, some of these insurance events that could happen, other things that are out there. At the end of the day, planning is risk mitigation. Truly, the markets are interesting. It's cool to go through it. I love it. You all know I love it. I'm happy to talk about it with any individual person, but really the plan in place and those pieces are what's most important and why it's so wonderful what we do. And I love being a part of it. So that being said, let's talk about the markets. So the Federal Reserve, we all know, lowered rates. Anticipation coming into November is that overall, we're going to potentially see another lowering of interest rates, maybe not 0.5%, looking closer to being 0.25. It's considered one interest rate lower. And so in doing so, that's what is widely being anticipated by the market right now. Now that meeting isn't for a while yet. It's coming up in 22 days, 3 hours and 40 minutes and 40 seconds, in case, Ken wanted to really know that. Anyways, the second thing I wanted to touch on is kind of how markets have been moving in the last 3 months. And I think it's incredibly interesting because I think the consensus from what we're hearing is that a lot of individuals still believe that there's 1 or 2 or 3 companies that are really driving the market. And that can necessarily be the case. But when you look at the year-to-date return, that is correct. You look at the last 3 months, though, interestingly enough, where those fall, information technology is actually negative within the S&P 500 in the last 3 months. Best performer, utilities, up almost 16% in the last 3 months. Who would have guessed that? Probably nobody. But in that regard, that's why it's so important to be diversified, so you're able to capture the upside when it occurs, because this changing of the guard, if you will, is so important, and it really drives where we're able to take income when you need it in certain areas. And so within your strategies, within all of the strategies, there's going to be a diversification of all these different companies and why you don't want to put your eggs in one basket. So it's very interesting to see how some of that stuff has changed. And then the very last thing that I wanted to talk about, just kind of going into a little bit more about what Zach sort of said, talking about bull markets in general. and corrections and the comparison of the two, corrections happen in bull markets. Just because we're in a bull market does not mean that the market can't correct. In fact, the only time that we know when a bull market turns to a bear is when we get a 20% correction. So that would be the indication that the bear market had actually started retroactively the last time we hit the all-time high. But along that way, until we get to that point, we're going to see the 10%, even 15% corrections. So just because we're in a bull market, do not discount the fact that volatility will occur. It looks like an opportunity for certain planning practices. It is not an opportunity to get out of the market. It is an opportunity to invest if you have cash on the sidelines, or to stay patient and watch things recover and maybe reach into what Nick Murray would refer to as the war chest. We call it maybe emergency savings, just that supplemental income that we have in times when the market is giving us tough conditions. So all things that we plan for, all things that we are able to wait out, and we need to, knowing that we could be retired for 30 plus years. So thanks, Ken.
Very good, Mike. We appreciate your perspective on that. Always very good. Thank you very much on that piece. And let's change pace a little bit, and we're going to hand it over to Ashley's Acumen on Financials. I think that's what we named it, something like that. It changes every week or every 2 weeks, right? But Ashley, what do you have in store for us today, please?
Thank you, Ken. Mike actually had a wonderful segment or segue into what I wanted to focus on today, and that is just the importance of saving in general. So I came across a staggering fact recently, and it said the Federal Reserve had made a note that said the average American personally saved only 3.4% of their monthly income. So I want to say congratulations to the majority of you on this call today. You are the exception to that rule. But just a real quick guide for anyone interested in either educating your children, potentially your grandchildren, a beginner's guide to savings. And there is a 50, 30, 20 rule out there. Of course, you can change these percentages a little bit, but a recommendation is that they would save 50% of their monthly income for things such as, of course, rent, mortgage, utilities, paying off that debt that comes across in the bill or in your mail. And then 30% can be, of course, for the things that they kind of want, of course, entertainment, potentially dining out. Again, those are things that we want, don't necessarily need. And then, of course, 20% would go into your savings, both for retirement savings, emergency funds. Those emergency funds can, of course, what Mike just said, be used at a different time and later in life also. So just a beginner's guide of a 50, 30, 20. I thought it was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Again, 50% is what you're going to spend on your monthly income for your basic needs, 30% wants and little extras, and then of course 20% for savings. So share with us your kids, grandkids, and if you have any questions, of course, reach out to us. We're here to help, and one of the guys can get you started on a great plan, or your kids if they have not already started working with us. Back to you, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Very helpful. That's a great rule, the 50, 30, 20 rule. Sometimes hard to do, right? Sometimes hard to do. Some months are better than other months, of course, right? But if we can get ourselves on a great savings track, as you know, for the retirees that are on this call today and that are a little more of the seasoned investor, if you will, you know that even $25 a month starting off, or 50 or 100 or whatever it was when we all started saving money, because we only had so much to go around at that point in time, right? We all live on a budget, and you know what that can grow to. So if you can, again, put your hand on someone's shoulder at some point in time and say, hey, you know what, just $50 a month to get started. Maybe it doesn't feel overwhelming to that person at that point in time. All of a sudden, you start saying, hey, you need to save $500-600 a month right after someone who just started working. They're going to be like, whoa, that seems like a lot of money. That's like all my paycheck. So just even something small to start off with, but getting to those rules that Ashley just mentioned, that 50, 30, 20 rule, boy, oh boy, that's when you can really start to accumulate some savings and really pay off debt in a really nice way. So thank you, Ashley. Very helpful. We appreciate that piece that you bring to us and the clients as well. And also, I'd like to bring on Michael Birschbox for Michael's Meaningful Retirement Guidance.
Thank you, Ken. I like that one. Today, I want to talk a little bit about purpose in retirement, take a little bit of a step aside from talking about the markets and planning, because this is a really important piece. Because in general, people come to see us for the financial part of retirement. And a good portion of them, some, but not all, haven't really thought about purpose or identity in retirement. Now, a lot of you on this call, we may have had these conversations previously, but just a good thing to bring up here for today. The University of Michigan recently did a poll. About a third of adults over the age of 50 experience feelings of loneliness at least once per week. That statistic surprised me, whether that's, distant family, potentially a loved one that's passed away. There's a lot of reasons that may be the case. But another study from the US Surgeons General said that the health risk of social isolation has been equated to smoking 15 cigarettes per week. So this is a really important piece when it comes to your overall well-being. So how can we combat this? Well, of course, thinking about it ahead of time. The CDC suggests combating loneliness by spending time with loved ones, joining clubs or groups, spending time outside and enjoying nature with others, expressing gratitude, and volunteering. Now, those might be some things that you've done, or just some ideas that you can, if you're feeling this way, some things you may be able to try to help combat that. But a really good question to ask yourself if you haven't thought about this before and you're getting closer to retirement is, if I can make the financial part of retirement work, what is the money really all for? Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were friends for over 56 years before Charlie passed away in November of last year, to which Warren Buffett said, "The friends you have will form you as you go through life. Make some good friends and keep them for the rest of your life." Thanks, Ken.
There it is, Michael. Very appreciate that. Yeah, Charlie Munger, interesting individual, along with Mr. Warren Buffett. Those connections are very key, like you're mentioning. So that's why we love having you here for the birthday lunch. It's about celebrating you. It's also about understanding your stories, connecting with you, talking. Sometimes we talk a little bit more in depth about things. Sometimes it's a little higher level, right? But that connection is fun. That connection is what we do it for. The shred event is the same way. Yes, we love that you come and shred all your documents you've had, like, saved up for the last 17 years and you want to get rid of those. We love that piece. We also love learning about, if you are retired, what did you do when you were working? Some of us don't know that question, actually, because you've been retired we know you as retired. If we've met you in the last 5, 7, 10 years, but if you retired before that, we sometimes don't know what you did for a living or what your career path looked like. We love hearing those stories as well with you as well. So don't be afraid to share, what you did or how you got to the point where you got to. Some of us know your stories, of course, but some of us don't, and we would like to learn more about you. So we're going to round this off, and we're going to bring it over to Angela. And Angela is going to tell us about the Gentian happenings and all things Gentian financial. Angie.
Thanks, Ken. Again, great segue for building connections. So I'm just going to go through some things here as we wrap up the year in the next couple months. We're going to have our October birthday club, which is next Wednesday, the 23rd. We ask that you RSVP by today if you plan on attending that with us next Wednesday. If you are unable to make it for October, please feel free to join us in November. We would love to see you, and we want to celebrate your birthday with you. Our next Gentian biweekly update is going to be Wednesday, October 30th. And of course, Thursday, October 31st is Halloween. Send us pictures of your kids, your grandkids. We would love to see those in their costumes and all the fun things that they do for the fall. November's birthday club is going to be on Wednesday, November 13th. So please keep that in mind. Those RSVPs are open as well. We wanted to get the dates out because we know that it's a busy time of year for everyone celebrating the holidays. So we do have November's RSVP up right now. Again, that can be found in your bulletin, along with the Ladies and Gentian book club that we will be hosting November 19th. It's going to be on a Tuesday this time. Again, just trying to work around everyone's busy schedules. That's going to be at 10 a.m. It's going to be via Zoom. It's, again, a book club. The book is Forever Strong. That information is also in your bulletin, and the RSVP is open for that as well. Moving on to Christmas, believe it or not, it is time to start RSVPing for our movie event, which is going to be Saturday, December 7th. This year, we're going to have 2 movies, so going on at the same time, just in 2 separate theaters. We'll have the Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and then Moana 2. Those RSVPs are open as well. Bring your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, whoever is in town for the holidays. We would love to see you guys. And then we're going to do something a little different this year. On Monday, December 16th, we're going to be hosting a holiday gift wrapping and food and toy drive, going to local charities. So that's going to be from 10 to 2 here at Gentian. We're going to have a hot chocolate bar, holiday carols. Feel free to bring your gifts for us to wrap, or we will also have self-wrapping gift stations for you with the materials provided. It's going to be a great fun day. Again, everyone is super busy. We'd like to take some of those tasks off of your hands. And all the information, once again, is in your bulletin. Again, that's December 16th here at our office from 10 to 2. RSVP and all the details and specifics for that one is, again, in your bulletin. So we look forward to seeing you guys here in the next couple months and just celebrating the holiday season and our relationships with you guys. We love to see everyone.
Angie, very good. Thank you very much for all the things happening here at Gentian. We look forward to spending time with you. If you can make those happen with your calendar and you wish to show up to those, we'd love to spend some time with you. We appreciate you very much. And also, she mentioned, you know, like the grandkids and the kids' costumes, but maybe we want to see your costume. Never know what you're going to dress up. We have we have a great friend and a client who there's a segment called Breaking Bad. It was like a series that came out many years ago, and some of you have heard about it. And he actually looks like Walter White in that, and he used to dress up like this guy. It was fantastic, and also it's just fun to see that spirit never goes away of being a young kid in some of us, which is fantastic. So we do want to thank you very much for spending time with us. We want a few minutes over here. Just want to say thank you very much. We appreciate you. We appreciate the introductions you've given us to your family, coworkers, people you love, friends and family. Want to say thank you very much for helping Gentian grow the right way. We appreciate you very much. And from our headquarters here in Mequon, Wisconsin, signing off for now. We will see you in 2 weeks. Enjoy your day. Bye now.